Thank you and welcome to the show for today. You are watching Perspectives and I am host Alana McLaughlin. This morning my guest is Ms. Jamie Jones, and Ms. Jamie is mother of Nathan Garvin, who in October of 2022 was murdered outside of Club Premium in South Nashville. As of 2026, the case remains unsolved. And this morning we're talking about the impact that cold cases have on mothers in Davidson County, the impact that gun violence has had on Nashville, and ultimately the work that we'd like to see through Nashville, through Metro Nashville Police, and through just community work in eliminating gun violence for Nashvillians and just Tennesseans as a whole. Ms. Jamie, thank you for just joining me this morning. And to get this ball rolling, I always start off by asking about baby years. And this will be a little unique because we'll be discussing your baby years as well as Nate's baby years. So just to get the ball rolling, tell me a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and then also tell me where Nate's from and just where he was born and a little bit about what he was like as a child.
I got you. First of all, thank you for having me. It means everything to me and my family. Just me as in general. I'm born and raised in South Nashville. I traveled, a lot. Grew up bouncing from place to place, really, with my mom. But I'm a South Nashville girl. I grew up in Woodbine and moved to Antioch. Moved quite a few different places.
Where'd you end up graduating from?
So I ended up graduating from Lawrence County High School.
Lawrence County. Now, where's that at?
Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
How'd you get out to Lawrenceburg?
Long story. It's another show.
Like a whole new episode.
Whole other episode.
Now, I know that Nate was born in May of '93.
He was, May 12th of '93.
And just tell me about what he was like as a child.
Man. Nate was he just was this incredible kid. He, super smart, very hyper, couldn't sit still. So we knew from early that he was going to have to be in sports. But he super smart, really smart, made friends easily. He grew up attached to a basketball, a skateboard, and that was it. His whole life, soccer ball, basketball.
Now take me through middle school and high school for him. I know he ended up graduating from Overton.
He did go to Overton. So we had kind of moved and bounced around, just kind of cycle repeated itself a little bit.
Yes,
so, but we ended up in Antioch. He went to Overton, and he was just a great kid.
And I know that Nate's the father to 2 young children.
He absolutely is.
And just tell me a little bit about your grandbabies.
Kaviana and Armando. Incredible kid. They're both amazing. Kavi is 14. That's hard.
I know.
That is hard. Well, he was 11 when Nate passed.
Yes,
so this is his formative years have been a little tough, but he'll be 15 this year, and Armando is amazing. We don't get to spend as much time with baby Mondo, but we're definitely going to change that.
And I know kind of a unique part of Nate's upbringing is Jelly Roll's involvement in his life.
Yes. So he grew up. So Jelly and Struggle actually have been like just huge figures.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've known them for years and years. They've been around since the boys, because I have a younger son, Logan, and they've been around since they were very small. So they're uncles. And watching them grow and Nate grow, it was a lot. Jelly lived with us for a while, and that was very interesting.
Now, so did Nate take any rapping or take up music at all?
Nate, he loved music. Was first and foremost in my house. Like in every type of music, there was nothing that was off limits. And Nate was a huge music lover. And there was a point in time where Nate decided he was going to be a rapper, and that didn't pass. But he loved music.
Yes, ma'am.
Loved music. In the studio, his friends were all in music. They had a small group back in the early 2000s called Bad Seed, and they were the hottest little thing around for high school kids. So it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot.
And just in the last kind of few months or the last few years of Nate's life, tell me what he was envisioning. Was he working towards anything in specific, any dreams that he had?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So right before we lost Nathan, he was actually going to be, his son was, Kavion was going to come and live with him. He had just moved out with another friend. He was working. Everything was going well for him, and he was in a good place.
Yes, ma'am.
Really good place.
And in our second segment, we'll just again discuss the case. We'll just discuss the tragedy that occurred outside of Club Premium, and we're just going to talk about the impact that it has on a mother who's left to just keep his legacy going, to keep his children remembering him, and just ultimately what that has looked like for you over the past few years. I encourage our viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where Jamie and I will return to discuss the murder of Nathan Garvin and the impact that it has had on Nashville. The second segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin. You are watching Perspectives. This morning, my guest is Ms. Jamie Jones, and Jamie is the mother of Nathan Garvin, who in October of 2022 was tragically murdered outside of a club in South Nashville in the early morning hours of that particular day. And we're just here to discuss kind of the ins and outs of this case. We're here to discuss the impact that homicides and that cold cases have on just the living relatives, the mothers, the loved ones that are left to deal, and ultimately how we'd like to see Nashville improve, how we'd like to see just cold cases and their resolutions be resolved, and ultimately what we'd like to see out of Nashville in the coming years. Take me through just that night, that morning. I know that this was kind of just early morning, late October in 2022. I know that Nate was outside of a club off Murfreesboro Road.
Yes.
And just tell me about getting that call.
Okay, so that Saturday before, because he passed on a Sunday morning, the Saturday before, he was going to help me do a few things, but I was able to go take care of him, and he was like, I'm going to come by later, no problem. And it was like, I love you, Mom. I said, I love you too. He's like, no, I really love you. And I'm like, I love you too. And that was the last conversation, but you never know that, right? So about 5:30, October 23rd of 2022, my phone, I never turn my phone off. Like, I never put it on silent. I have kids, I have brothers, I have kids.
Yes.
We got to keep it on. And but for some reason, I had cut the sound off that night. And I woke up, I had to go get something to drink or whatever it was, and I woke up to my husband, Chris. His phone was ringing in the kitchen, and I picked it up, and it was my brother, Roddy. And I was like, why is Roddy calling at 5:30 in the morning? So I slid it over, and he told me, he said, you got to get to the club. I said, who is it? He said, Nate's been shot. I said, Nate who? And he says, you got to get here. So I go in there and I throw the phone at Chris. I was like, I don't know what's going on. So we get up, we're heading to the club. I'm still on the phone, and the police are there. They got on the phone with me, and they said that they were taking Nate to Vanderbilt. So we rerouted and went to Vanderbilt. And that was how we found out. That's how we found out.
Were you able to say goodbye to him at all?
No, by the time that we got there, he was gone. Funny thing about hindsight was there was never a police officer that was at the hospital. There's nobody who came to talk to us. There was nothing. We were just left with ourselves and my brothers and sisters who had left the club and came because he was there with his uncles, and nothing made sense. Nothing made sense, but no, I did not.
And I want to talk about the months to come throughout the rest of 2022. Did Metro Nashville's Homicide Division support you at all? And this is not to say that maybe they are required to or by any means, but I'd like to hear just the experience of a mother. Did you feel supported? Did you feel seen, or at least communicated with, worked with through Metro Nashville Police? And what is your experience in the first few months?
The first few months. That's an excellent question. We had an incredible detective that was assigned to Nate's case, and she was amazing. Like, she told me when we pulled up at the club that morning, and she was like, I will come to speak with you at your home, but right now, you're not my priority. Your son is my priority.
Yes.
I respected that. Like, that was incredible. And for, I guess, 8 months, she was on the case, and every week we talked, every week. When she left the force, when she left the department, the communication left with her. So it was no longer open communication with them. I had to reach out. If there's communication, I reach out. I initiate it. They do not initiate anything with me at all, and haven't for several months.
And I'd like to talk about the response from the club that he was at, if any. What was their response? Did they have security that night, cameras?
So cameras, there were cameras, but they were antiquated. The video footage, not necessarily the cameras, but the footage was antiquated. They were able to send off what footage that we did have, and it came back as it just, you couldn't use it. Security was there. Whoever shot from the road. This was an uncontrollable situation, that it didn't happen within anybody that was standing near. So it wasn't anything that it could have been crowd control, or it didn't happen like that.
And witnesses at all? Just in the days and the weeks and the months following this incident, did people come forward? Did people have information? I know that it ended up being discovered that a black sedan may have been involved in this, but has the community, or just in those first few months of the community, come out? Were there people that said, like, I saw something, I heard something?
Not so much that, but there was someone who did come forward and then recant her story. So we were left with basically nothing again. Do I personally think that she lied? No, I absolutely do not. I think she told the truth, and I think that it was a situation where she was forced to untell the truth.
And maybe intimidated?
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe that's what happened. So I hope that she knows that she can change lives.
Yes. And I believe that in changing lives, I'm going to include this in our third segment, but to end off this second segment, I encourage all viewers who may know something, who may have heard something, may have seen something in October of 2022 in relation to the murder of Nate Garvin, to reach out to the Metro Nashville Police Homicide Division or to Nashville Crime Stoppers at area code 615-74-CRIME. That is area code 615-742-7463. I encourage you to tune in to the final segment of Perspectives, where we'll discuss how Jamie has kept Nate's legacy alive, how Jelly Roll has been able to also keep that legacy alive, and ultimately the impact that this case has had on our community. The final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin, and you are watching Perspectives. This morning's topic has discussed the murder of Nathan Garvin in October of 2022. We've discussed just kind of the details of this case, the impact that it has had on his mother, Jamie. And in this final segment, we're discussing how his mother has kept his legacy alive, how the community has kept his legacy alive, and ultimately the impact that cold cases and that homicides have on the Nashville community. I think that the Forever 29 hoodies are awesome. Tell me about just the idea behind creating them, the mission behind them, and then getting them out into the world.
It came about where, you know, he does have sons, so, you know, there was a lot of needs that we had to fill in that time period. So we were able to create a hoodie, and we kind of call it the OG hoodie now. And you know, we sold that, and the money went into a fund, you know, to make sure that the kids had their immediate needs met, school clothes, you know, whatever the case may be. But it kind of, the Forever 29 came about. We were sitting at the table, and we really didn't know what we were going to say. And for some reason, we were talking, and I said, Nate will forever be 29, and that it kind of took on a life of its own. So we did that, and we have took that and built a brand. So that's something that we continue to do, and we have the website forever29thebrand.com, and we have added and added and added to it, so it kind of took on a life of its own, and it's done some amazing things. So.
And I know that the case was also kind of brought to light, or brought to more popularity, more recognized through Jelly Roll's Save Me documentary. Tell me a little bit about Nate's case being just kind of involved and mentioned in the documentary and the impact that that had on the case. Was it able to just kind of push it in front of the community a little bit more, the reception that you may have heard from that, and how that's just impacted the case?
So Jelly was filming in Red Rock for his documentary when the call came in. And they kind of took that and went on that journey with him. And being featured, it has helped. It's helped quite a bit. You know, it made it real, but it also took it and gave it a life of its own with people who follow Jelly and his fans and people who they know who we are through him, and they have kind of went on this journey with us. So it's just become global at this point, and to be featured in that, you know, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. We hated that it happened, but to be able to have the eyes and the ears on this case because of that. There's still people that message every day, you know, do you have an update? Is there anything going on? You know, him and Struggle actually did a music video and included Nathan in that video. So his uncles were very present in his lives while he was here and when he hasn't been here.
Now, Jamie, it's clear that the community's doing the work. You're doing the work by keeping his name alive. The people who loved him are doing the work. I have to revisit your experience with law enforcement. We talked about just the detective that was initially on the case and the good work, the good communication that she's had. But over these past about 3 years, what has your experience been? How frequently are they in communication with you? Have grief supports or just any type of therapy, any type of psychological help been offered, been at least, you know, any type of treatment? I mean, because to lose a child, I mean, not necessarily a child, but to lose your child is life-changing, it's life-altering in a very negative way.
It absolutely is.
And I know that Nashville is a large enough city with enough social supports to be able to reach out to mothers. I know we have organizations like Mothers Over Murder, through Clemmy Greenlee, who do the work on the ground.
She reaches out frequently.
And she is an amazing woman, but I expect that same treatment from law enforcement, the people who make it their duty and their job to solve these cases, to bring peace and rest to these victims. Tell me about that experience.
I don't have an experience. Any communication I reach out for, and that's very disheartening coming from a unit that is supposed to help. Social services, grief counseling, peer-to-peer counseling, none of that was ever offered. I had to ask about it. So, you know, going back, do I think that there should have been it handled a different way? I absolutely think it should have been handled a different way, and I think that we could probably use the situation and the steps with Nate's case to retrain, and let them know this is not the way to go about it. You know, if you are a spouse and you lose your spouse, you're a widow or a widower, right? If you lose your parents, you're an orphan. If you lose your child, there's no name to describe, because that's not the natural order of things. That's not supposed to happen. So there's no handbook, there's no rule book, there's no footprint to follow. And with that being said, your life now is in the hands of people that don't really, I don't want to say that they don't care, but they're in a position to just move forward.
And you could 100% say that it feels like they don't care, because
I do feel like they don't care. I do feel like they don't care. I have been asked several times that if I find out any information, to please call them. Sir, no. What am I supposed to find out? What would you like me to do? Where would you like me to go? Give me a clue. But no, I don't have anything for them. That is their job. That is what they're trained to do. I'm not trained to solve murders. They're trained to solve murders. And clearly it's not happening.
And I know that a cash reward has been offered for information in relation to the case. And has that at all been able to kind of push advancement in the case? Has that impacted the community?
Not at all. You know, we have, I have a website. It's called justicefornate.info. We have a flyer that's actually on there. And at this point, the motto that we have is your memory matters, because we now have to revisit and go back from square one to people that were maybe driving to work. Maybe they were leaving the club. Maybe they were going to the club. You know, who knows? Who knows? But they have a memory they don't know they have. We need to get that memory. So your memory matters. And that's kind of the motto for 2026.
And I know that through social media, you've been advocating for Nate tirelessly. Yes. Upon meeting you in real life, I immediately recognized you. I was like, wow, I've seen her videos. I'd seen you in the paper and different outlets. And I want you to plug in those social medias so that people can stay in touch with you, plug in your websites again. And I just want you to plug in all the ways that people can follow you, can follow this case, can follow any developments, and be able to share information with you.
We have Facebook. You have mine is Jamie Jones Bargatze, Jamie LeMay Bargatze. We have the Forever 29 the brand, and that is the website as well, forever29thebrand.com. We have justicefornate.info, and TikTok is Lady J615. Like, if you have anything, if anybody has anything, it doesn't matter how small they think it is, it may not be as small as they think. That memory we need.
And that memory matters.
The memory matters. Your memory matters. All 2026.
What do you hope to see? Of course, the case being solved, but just in the next year and throughout the rest of 2026, what do you hope to be communicated from Metro Nashville Police? What do you hope to establish with them, if anything at all? You know,
the end game, the end goal is to bring who took Nathan's life to justice. And that night, if we can speak about that night, when they slowed down and they shot, that bullet didn't have a name on it. It could have been anybody that was standing there. It was me who lost my child. I don't think that they put a lot of effort. I think that the conversation that I have had with them personally face to face, and I don't see that they put a lot of effort into Nate as a person, as a human, as a citizen of their city. And Nate deserved justice. But what I would like to see is that person brought to justice. Not just for me, not just for my family, because that means that if they solve that case, they can solve other cases. Because I have friends right now that they don't even have the communication that I have. And not just that, we have another case in our family of Armando Smoot, who has gone absolutely cold since 2015. And, the person who pulled the trigger and shot my cousin Chris Walton in 2000, they're in Costa Rica. They put no effort into that. So I don't have a lot of hope, unfortunately. And I made that clear to them. I would love for you to prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong, that you are going to exercise everything that you have. And I've yet to see that. They have failed us.
Jamie, thank you for sharing your perspective. And to my viewers, thank you for just sitting through this story. Thank you for the opportunity to share one more story. We encourage all viewers, if you know something, hear something, say something, contact the Metro Nashville Homicide Department or contact Crime Stoppers at area code 615-74-CRIME.
Hot Bench. Watch Hot Bench.